It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. I am Brad. He is John. This is yes, it's B block. This is, the date is November 22nd. Can you believe today is November 22nd? And
I can. And I was just looking at my copy of Dallas Book Depository Monthly. And something happened on November 22nd. I don't remember what it was, though.
1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And it's hard to believe that's what today is. It's the 2004. So was that 60 years ago? 59 years ago? Is that what it is? 59 years?
No, it'd be more than that because it'd be one, right? If it was 63?
No, it's the 59 years ago. Because if it were 64, it would today is and 24.
No.
It
you're
would be
right.
60
You're right,
years.
Brad. I'm sorry. You're right about that.
59.
And it was the day of one of what was overlooked was one of JFK's most prominent quotes that was overshadowed by what happened that day.
What? And that quote was?
He was coming from another event, and he was not happy about doing the parade. And he said, "I need this parade like I need a hole in the head."
He didn't say that. John's making fun stuff. Okay, here we go again. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Guns and Hoses. Have you ever been to Guns and Hoses before, John?
No, not at all.
Guns and Hoses is this incredible event. I think I've been there 3 or 4 times. I took my oldest son there when he was still a young pup. I think he was, 15, 16 or something like that. And matter of fact, next Wednesday, it's a week from this past Wednesday. And did you know that I have friends in the restaurant business, and they tell me that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is typically the busiest bar night of any night in the year? And I'm thinking to myself,
yeah, it's Skanksgiving.
Well, but I think it's what again?
It's Skanksgiving. Are you up on Skanksgiving?
No, what is Skanksgiving?
It's when college girls come back to their town and they meet up with everybody the day before Thanksgiving, and they dress like skanks, and they go to their favorite bars, and they see the guys they haven't seen since the summer, and it's like, oh my God, Colton, you look so good. Have you been working out? It's Skanksgiving.
Okay, John. I find it hard to believe. I would have always said that New Year's Eve would be the number one night for bars, but they claim it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Okay, Guns and Hoses benefits the Backstoppers, and I am critical of some not-for-profit organizations. I know some of the inner workings of the Guns and Hoses people, and I know some of the people that have been involved with this for years. This gets the Brad seal of approval. What it does is it's a group of primarily former firefighters. Some of them are still working in law enforcement, the fire services and things like that. And it's a organization that steps in when a firefighter, EMS person, police officer is killed or permanently injured in the line of duty. And literally they come in, they pay off mortgages, they pay for funerals, they do these things immediately. They don't dilly-dally around and we got to fill out the forms. They take care of business, and this is one of their main fundraisers. And like I said, I've been there at least 3 or 4 times, and I believe it is sold out. As of this moment, if you go onto the website, I believe it will tell you that it's sold out. But I do believe there are some tickets available at some of the retail places around town. So you might even go to the site and see if they. But I think as far as ordering tickets online, it's sold out, which I think is a great thing.
Can you still go? Can you get them? Can you still go down to Ticketmaster and get them?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure. I think it's pretty much sold out.
I made that up. I don't think Ticketmaster's been around in 20 years. I'm guessing.
Ticketmaster, that's the big one.
Do they still have physical locations?
Oh, you're talking about having a store, a Ticketmaster store. No, yeah, no, nobody has physical stores.
I don't mean to step on your story, Brad. Now, Brad, how is Guns and Hoses different than Backstoppers?
Well, it's the fundraiser part. That's the
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same thing, but Guns and Hoses is the event, but Backstoppers puts on the operation.
Yes.
Got it.
And
okay.
what a lot of people don't realize is that they've changed it through the years, and what they make it is the boxing matches. It's firefighters against firefighters. It's not, or I don't know how they do this. It's firefighters against police. I can't remember how they do it. But let me tell you something, and this is what the feedback I heard from last week's fight a week ago tonight with the Jake Paul and the Mike Tyson fight. When my son and I went by myself several times, the best matches were the women. The women were incredible, and just like if you've heard everybody talk about the pre main event bouts, one of the what do they call it, pre-card, or what do they call that?
Yeah, it's called the undercard.
The undercard, okay, the undercard. everybody's talked about those two women that went at it before, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. And one year, I'll remember this, Mike Shannon's daughter, who at the time was a firefighter, I believe in University City, either a firefighter or a paramedic, she was one of the female boxers, and oh my God, was she good. I mean, they trained.
Wow, really?
Oh, yeah, she was really good. And some of the, I mean, and what's interesting about it is when they went at it, they went at it. And if you've ever done anything like boxing or wrestling, you see these guys out there, you go, I can't be that tough. You would not believe the physical strength and the stamina it takes to do one round. And we're talking like, 2-minute rounds. You go, I can go to the gym and I can be on the Stairmaster for 2 minutes. It's no big deal. You don't get it. It's like
you're right about that, Brad.
When I did high school wrestling back in the day, junior high and high school wrestling, I was blown away about how incredibly, the exertion you have, because you're going at it like nonstop. I mean, every ounce of strength you have is just being put to the test. So anyway, if you get a chance to go, you could still make a donation. I think it's a great organization. Sometimes in the keep in mind these firefighters and paramedics and the police are working for bureaucracies. And sometimes if there's a bad thing that happens, bureaucracy moves very slow. Am I kidding, John? Or am I?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, witness your trips to Jeff City just to get a license plate.
Right. So what the backstoppers do is they come in right away and they take care of business. So if you can, throw some money, buy some tickets if you still can. Okay. The Matt Gaetz thing. Have you heard this crazy new wrinkle in the Matt Gaetz thing? If you know what happened yesterday, he took his name out of the hat for the Attorney General. Have you heard the latest
Is
wrinkle?
the crazy wrinkle something he can get removed with more Botox?
I don't know about that, John.
Is that the crazy wrinkle?
Matter of fact, I saw this cartoon the other day that Matt Gaetz is the love child of Dracula and Frankenstein. If you look at his face, you could sort of see the Dracula.
It's unique. Yeah, Scott Fawn says that he's a member of the Addams family.
Well, he looks like some kind of super villain or something like that. But I saw that.
Yeah. So what was the wrinkle yesterday?
Okay, he resigned. He took his name out of the hat, but he resigned from the House of Representatives last week. And supposedly the reason he did it was because, what was it, last Friday they were going to come out with the report. And since he was resigning, therefore he was essentially a private citizen, and they didn't bring out the report. Supposedly he resigned, and now he took his name out of the hat of being the Attorney General, but he is still the representative elected and will be sworn in January. To his
nice. Okay, so there's a brief gap between his resignation, but he'll still get sworn in January. That's pretty smart, right?
Because legally he is and he resigned his position as active representative, but he won his re-election in earlier this month. So therefore he is the state or the U.S. rep from his district elect, and he will be back in office when they swear everybody in back in January. Is that weird or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty smart. So I just thought that the nomination, there's no way he was going to get through the Senate. I think there's a lot of Senate Republicans that would have been real squishy on him, to say the least. But I wondered if it was just a way for Trump to pick somebody wildly nuts and crazy, and then come back with somebody a little bit less right, which appears is what he's done with Pam Bondi. But good for Matt Gaetz, right?
Well, you might say that. Some people would say not. And I think the guy is, he blew up the whole thing with McCarthy as the Speaker of the House, which I think was ridiculous. The whole thing, it's amazing the power that one person can have. But I think the interesting aspect of this whole crazy weird thing is that here he's this very controversial guy. He gets reelected. Now, once again, what did you say earlier that someone said, Scott Fawn said, how do you get better people as county clerks? You elect better people, right?
Yeah, that's what Jay Ashcroft said, yeah.
Jay Ashcroft said that. Okay, Scott, didn't you say Scott Fawn reported that, or how did Scott Fawn figure it out?
That was on Pete Mundo's show. I just used Scott's. We were talking about Scott with DEI.
Okay. I'm an old guy, so you got to keep me up to date on this kind of stuff. Okay, so I found that interesting that he got reelected, and there's this crazy thing. See, and the other thing you mentioned briefly there too. Don't you think that Trump is sitting up there, or Mar-a-Lago, wherever he's at, or D.C. He's not in D.C. yet. He's still pretty much working out of Florida. Don't you think he's sitting there going like, those Dems, they said I was Hitler. They said all these bad, nasty things about him. I'm going to pull the pin on a couple hand grenades and roll them into the Democratic caucus and watch these people just freak out. Don't you think the Matt Gaetz thing was sort of like, watch this, right?
Well, and I also think, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. This is just my theory. I think it's another one of Trump's ways to say, okay, this guy has been relentlessly for me. And even though he might be a lunatic, I'm gonna nominate him to one of the highest positions in the land. He's not gonna get it, but I'm gonna signal that if you're with me, you're with me. And I mean, whether you're a big Trump person or not, I think you can recognize that that's what he's doing there.
Right. He's taking care of people that had his back.
Yeah.
Well, once again, that's life 101. You know what I mean? If your next door neighbor is the kind of guy that's doing things for you, and when you're at work, he's pushing your trash can back and into your garage and that kind of stuff, you want to take care of that guy. But if your next door neighbor is reporting you to the county that there's peeling paint on your house, you're not going to do too much for that guy, are you?
Have you cut your grass in the last month, Brad?
I have.
Okay, because I remember you told me that sometimes you've cut it as late as is getting near Thanksgiving, and when I look at my lawn, I'm like, you want to keep your lawn you want to keep the grass a little bit longer in the winter, right? Like you don't want to scalp it before winter. But I was thinking, I wonder if it's too late for me to cut the grass again.
John, I've cut my grass in December.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, but once again, you make fun of me. I set my blade at like 4.5 to 5 inches because once again, you don't want to cut it. I mean, never do you want to, unless you got zoysia, you don't want to cut your grass at
And who in their right mind would plant zoysia? Unless you're a retiree in North Florida, why would you have zoysia?
Hold on, I'm looking at something here. Okay.
Anyway, you're talking about neighbors reporting each other. I thought I would just point out. And by the way, I agree with you completely. You are an expert on lawn care, and I have always been in your camp when it comes to cutting grass like that.
No, I'm not an expert. It's just that I've learned through the years that, Missouri, once again, it's this crazy thing. Missouri is in what they call the transition zone, where we can't, like you get further north, you get up into northern Illinois and Wisconsin, places like that. Year round, you plant cool season grasses. And when you get to the south of us, you get like down in, obviously down in Florida and the southern states, you plant warm season grasses. The problem we have in Missouri is we're in that transition zone, especially right in the middle where we're at, as far as latitude north and south, where we get the extreme heat, we get the extreme cold. So you have to have that's why what they call turf type fescue is sort of the grass that most of the pros use, like at shopping centers and places like that, because it looks good, you can cut it long, and it will withstand the heat in the summer for the most part, when we have the very hot, Julys and August where it gets very dry. But it does go dormant for a while, but it usually comes back. But anyway, that's the whole stupid thing. Okay.
Do you have a Jason Rosenbaum story for us?
I do. Okay, first off, I'm going down my list of stuff, okay? Here, let me pull up my list because that way I'll be right on top of this. Yesterday, I listened to an absolute positive, excellent interview on KWMU. And let me find the guy's name. I don't know if you know this guy's name. He's a producer on KWMU. I've never heard of him before. And I'm saying to myself, nothing against Elaine Cha. Let's get rid of Elaine Cha.
Is it Brian Munoz? Is it Brian Heffernan?
I believe his name is Alex Hoyer. Have you ever heard of him before?
Yeah. But it's spelled funny. It's like Heuer, isn't it?
Right. He interviewed Bob Costas. And I have to tell you, it was probably one of the best interviews I've heard in a long time. And let's be honest, Bob Costas is an excellent interviewer. And at the end of the interview, Bob Costas complimented Alex on an excellent interview, and it was excellent. Bob Costas is in town. He's getting the Stan Musial Award. And Alex took him through his entire, how he got the job here. If you know the whole crazy story, he was originally hired by the Spirits of St. Louis, the ABA basketball team, which I think lasted 2 years. And then when the ABA merged into the NBA, they didn't take St. Louis, which is sort of sad. But Bob talks about the fact that how he got the job was he was going to school at Syracuse University, and he was 22 years old, and he hadn't done much basketball. Matter of fact, he said he did one game like 2 years before he graduated. And he went back and pulled the tape and edited out a bunch of the sections, and he made it sound like one complete, like 10 minutes worth of he said he was careful that he, took out the score and things like that. But he said it was not a good performance on his part, and he chopped it up and made it sound like it was like 10 minutes in a row. There's like he just took like 10 minutes of the broadcast and sent it to Cam
Sure,
Weiss.
I got it.
They flew him into town. He didn't think he was going to get the job, and they offered him the job. You know what his starting salary was?
$18,250.
$11,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
He worked $11,000 a year, and he worked his way up from there and became the huge guy he is. Now, what's interesting, a couple of really interesting nuggets came out of this. Did you know the fact that he was blackballed by the NFL? Do you know this crazy weird story?
No, what happened? Why was that?
Apparently, in one of the broadcasts, he mentioned about the CTE, the brain.
Oh yeah, the whole concussion protocol thing.
Right, and apparently the NFL folks contacted. I believe he was on NBC at the time. I think he's been with NBC for a long time, and essentially said, "Hey, you know that Bob Costas guy? Yeah. Well, you know what? We don't want him on any more NFL broadcasts." So essentially, he was blackballed from doing any NFL broadcasts, the Super Bowls and things like that, because of the fact that he talked about in one of the broadcasts the concussion issue and the CTE issue. What's that stand for, John? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know.
But essentially what it is it's some kind of brain disease or brain injury you get from repeated impacts to your head. And trust me, if there's anybody who should know that, it should be me. Matter of fact, I ran into Gary Bowdy the other night at an event, and he remembered the fact that when I was knocked unconscious at a River Cities Rascal game by a 100-pound speaker that fell on my head. And that's an interesting story, and if you want to hear that sometime. But anyway.
But was she cute?
No, it was
so a 100-pound girl fell from the stage. I mean, that's the right size, right?
No, it was a speaker, like a speaker that you plug into an amplifier. That kind of a speaker. Okay, so it was a great interview, and whoever this Alex Hoyer guy is, dude, you are too good for KWMU. Can I say that out loud, John? I mean, will I get myself in trouble?
I think that's wildly offensive. But you know what? If he moves on, that opens up yet another spot for you to apply for.
And Bob Costas was very interesting. You know, he doesn't live here in St. Louis. He lived here, for like 35 or 40 years or something like that. And he's in town all this week for the Musial Awards and the whole bit. And it was just a fantastic interview, and to the point where it was so good. I heard it, and it wasn't the entire show. She had somebody on the first half of the show, the first part of the show. Actually, that was an interesting interview as well, too. She did a good job on that, Elaine Cha. But it was probably a good 35, 40-minute interview, and I listened to it again last night on the replay. So I see if I can go online and find Alex on the KWMU website and see if they have any kind of contact information, because I do want to compliment him because I thought he did a nice job on that. And he sounds like a young guy, you know. I mean, he sounds like, if I had to guess his age, maybe mid to late 20s, early 30s at the oldest. And once again, when Bob Costas compliments you on an interview, you know you've done something right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or you've asked him really good softballs. Now, didn't Bob Costas weigh in on some kind of woke stuff over the last few years? Like, hasn't he waded into political waters?
You know what? If he did, I don't really remember that. I mean, do you remember? Do you have specifics on that? Do you have specifics on that?
No, I just remember thinking, wow, he became a really whiny woke guy.
Well,
I don't remember specifics on it, but
you know, I mean, all of us have our failings. I mean, I've even said that there are certain things that the city of St. Louis does right, if you can believe that. But
I know. Well, that's because you got a St. Louis Development Corporation grant.
That's because once upon a time, I had 500 plus parking tickets from the city of St. Louis. And
Did you really? From the city?
Yes. I never told this story before?
No, you've never told us. We're at the end of B block. Why don't we tell it in C block?
You want to really hear the story of why I got
I really do.
500 parking tickets in the city of St. Louis on one day, when I kept getting the summaries of all the tickets I owed. On one day alone, I think I got 36 parking tickets in one day. In one day. In one day. Sometimes one of them was at like 10:52 in the morning in North City, and the next one was like 10:54 in South City. I was moving real quick. I was like Flash, one of the superhero kind of things. It's a weird story. Okay, we'll take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?